Hey Oz.
Hey, Curtis.
Hey, what movie we watching this week?
This week we've got the love child of Michael Douglas movie The Game, crossed with
Mhm.
Operation with a dash of Raising Arizona. This week we are covering 2018's Game Night. Yeah, as I was reflecting,
Raising
I'm like, why
Arizona.
did?
Yeah.
Well, they wanted kids and couldn't have them, so
Yep, there you go.
they just didn't steal one. But
There was also the scene where Jason Bateman scraped his knuckles on the ceiling.
yeah. And Rachel
which is my
McAdams
which
just
is my
started. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Is that Rachel
I was saying,
McAdams?
yeah, and she was just crying. I want one so bad. I love him so much.
Oh, Raising Arizona, fun movie, super fun movie,
Oh
but
yeah,
not
yeah.
not the one in question this week.
No. This week we're talking 2018. Jason Bateman, Rachel McAdams, fun little whatever game night.
Sure.
Again, we are sitting on week 3 of Wives' Choice Month. Before we get too far, of course, I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
And I am the other host, Curtis.
And we have to, again, remember to throw out a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Don S., Melissa L., Aaron A., and Mandy K. Thank you again for your patronage, keeping the lights on for us.
Thank you very much. You make our world go round.
You're the wind beneath our wings. And so we are here tonight, whatever. We're here to talk about a movie that I can never remember the title to. I always want to say Date Night when I'm talking about this movie, but that's a whole different film with Tina Fey and Steve Carell. This is Game Night from 2018, directed by one of the guys from Freaks and Geeks.
Yep, basically.
Yeah. And one of the guys you don't know from Freaks and Geeks. It's like,
Yes.
James Franco? No. Jason
No,
Segel?
not him.
No.
No, not him either.
Seth Rogen? No.
No.
Busy Phillips? No, she didn't do it either.
No.
Velma? No,
Nope,
not Velma.
Not Velma.
The other one.
Oh, that one.
So,
okay.
yeah, John Francis Daly. So, but yeah, Game Night. Game Night is our film this week. My wife chose this one. Well, we enjoy. I know we didn't see it in theaters because this movie came out after we had children, so I can guarantee we didn't see it in the theater. But it is a movie that it is just a lot of dumb fun. This is not a smart, sophisticated comedy. This is hijinks.
Yes.
This is hijinks.
Lots of hijinks ensue in this one.
Yeah. So I have the plot this week, so I'm going to turn it over to you for the cast, for the characters.
Yes. So essentially, we have 3 couples that kind of comprise the lead cast. There's a couple others as well. There's the neighbor, there's the brother, and then there's a couple like kind of celebrity cameos as well.
Yeah.
So the main cast, the 3 couples, we have Max and Annie Davis, played by Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. They are game night enthusiasts, whether it's trivia, board games, whatever. They are highly competitive people, and that plays out over the course of the movie. We have another, I'll say couple just to keep things easy. We have their buddy Ryan, played by Billy Magnuson, and he has a couple of dates over the course of the movie, but the one that kind of stands out is Sarah Darcy's, played by Sharon Horgan. And then we have Kevin and Michelle Sterling, played by Lamorne Morris and Kylie Bunbury. So they are our 3 lead couples they're all friends. They all get together for these game nights. Again, Ryan brings Sarah along for the big game night, which is hosted at Brooks Davis's, I guess, like Airbnb he's renting.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's his, like, yeah,
Verbo.
So
yeah, exactly. Brooks Davis, played by Kyle Chandler, of all people, who is Max's brother. So Max, I think Max is the little brother, is he not?
Yes, Max is the little brother.
The little brother. And then we have Max and Annie's neighbor, Gary, played by Jesse Plemons. Now,
Oh, I love Gary.
Gary used to attend game nights with his then wife Debbie. However,
Yeah.
Debbie and Gary divorced. Debbie stopped coming. They stopped inviting Gary because they really weren't fond of him in the first place because Gary's just kind of a big weirdo.
Yeah.
But
And
he's still
that's
neighbors
to say
to
the least.
he's still neighbors to Max and Annie, which makes it tough for them to get together.
Right.
We then have a couple other characters who pop up here and there, kind of celebrity cameos. We have Glenda, played by Chelsea Peretti. She runs a like a scenario based
Yeah. Murder mystery kind of thing.
murder mystery. There you go. We have Donald Anderton, played by Danny Houston, of all people.
Yeah. I really like Danny Houston, and I don't know if he just doesn't get the opportunities he deserves, or if he is just totally fine being this like A-level fill-in. Because I feel like anything Danny Houston is in, he's really good.
Yeah, he's always really good.
But it's always like a small part. Like he's never the main guy.
Yeah.
Because he had a bit on Yellowstone for a little bit, and he was really good. And it's like, and then there goes Danny Houston. He's gone now, and of course he was also pretty menacing in 40 Days a Night. But it's just like you said, he just pops up. You're like, hey, that's Danny Houston.
We have the Bulgarian, played by Dexter's own Michael C. Hall.
Right.
And then I'll also tack on here, we have quote unquote FBI agent Ron Henderson, played by the Watcher himself, Jeffrey Wright.
That's right. Yeah. It's Jeffrey Wright. And we can't and we can't forget the Morgan Freeman cameo.
Was it or Denzel?
Yeah,
and then maybe Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
maybe?
I'm sorry. I was looking at my notes. There was a Marlon Freeman, and I jumped.
Well, that was the alter ego of Donald Anderton,
Yeah.
Danny Houston's character.
Yeah. So
no Marlon Wayans,
right.
no Morgan Freeman, but maybe Denzel Washington.
Right, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right,
we'll see how things unfold.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump into the plot.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, this movie, you don't want to go in expecting the world. It's just kind of a dumb, fun kind of comedy. It's got some A-list names on it. It came out, it made its money. If it's the favorite movie of somebody, it's probably someone who doesn't have a very extensive knowledge of film. And
it might be Kyle Chandler.
Or Kyle Chandler.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's for me, and I know you kind of differ on it, like it's just a harmless way to spend an hour and a half.
Sure.
It's there. There's some jokes that land, there's some jokes that don't. Like any comedy, that's kind of par for the course. But the plot is pretty out there. You mentioned, you got Matt, and we'll get to that too. You got Max and Annie, like you said. They meet at a bar trivia night because they're both equally competitive with one another. They get married. He proposes during a game of charades. La 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 la. It's they're this match made in heaven. Early on in the film, we find out that they're having a hard time conceiving a child, mainly because he feels inadequate when compared to his brother Brooks. Brooks is this like venture capitalist kind of whatever. I mean, he's just this generic money maker. So we build that up really quick. Kind of
reminds me of George Santos in some ways.
Yeah, a little bit of George Santos there. Whatever you want him to be, he's been.
Yes, yeah, he was a volleyball star for Baruch College.
Yeah, I did it all. Like,
uh-huh.
What was that SNL character that was always like the one upper? I can't. But I want to say it was what's her name? I can't think of it. But there was one character they'd cut to little skits every now and then where it was like this person at a party like nobody because they'd always have that one upper. Like like whatever you did, they did it first and they did it better
or they did it better. Yep.
And so that's kind of what Brooks is like here. Max is fine. He's successful. happily married. He's good to go. And so that's one little plot line, is the Max and Brooks competitiveness, and Annie is clearly in Max's corner. You just need to get over it. It's Brooks. It doesn't help that like Brooks is extremely charming and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And then we got the other plot line of, like you mentioned earlier, the game night. They host a game night each week, and it was kind of fun watching them try to maneuver this game night around Gary figuring it out. Like, he's just, why do you have 3 bags of Totito scoops?
How would you describe the Gary character as?
Yeah, I would describe Gary as just this entity. Like,
yeah,
he's a police officer, but he's just disturbed. And
you only ever see him in his police uniform also.
Right. He's always in his police uniform.
Yeah.
But he's always at home. Like, he never blinks. He talks real slow. He doesn't express any emotion. He's just
very little body language.
He's just this sentinel entity that is just he's just unnerving. It's like he's almost like a Dementor that's not like floating around, or he's not this dead Dementor yet. He just sucks the joy out of everything.
It's like the energy vampire in what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. It's Colin Robinson.
There we go. Yep, Colin Robinson.
And so you've got, they're trying to situate this game night. And for me, a lot of what worked about this movie is just the kind of the dumb little gags.
Sure.
They didn't all work, but for instance, like they knew, Max and Andy were like, we're having our game night. You guys don't come in through the front door, and then just watching as like the friends are like climbing through the windows, like, yeah, pushing the blinds aside. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you told us not to come through the front door. I just meant come around back. Like, you don't have to break into my house. It's just little things like that. They're they're momentarily comical, but but then they drop them. They're not trying to run this like one note as a through line. This was a funny little thing. Moving on. And so Brooks is back in town. Brooks shows up at Max's house. And
he shows up in a Corvette Stingray.
Yeah, it's Max's dream car, which Brooks knows about, but of course he goes and gets one, and Max doesn't get one. So that's kind of how that older brother Brooks is. It's just constantly looking to humiliate Max, but not. It's such like an inner level. Like, he's not mean to him, but he just does things like this. Like, hey, I got a Corvette Stingray. It's like, but you knew that was my dream car. Oh yeah, I guess it was. And so then he offers to host a game night himself, and it's going to be the game night of all game nights. Like,
oh boy, howdy!
Again, another little throwaway gag when he comes in and he takes the stack of board games and just chucks them.
Yeah.
It's like, just to get his point across, to where Max is like, you didn't have to throw them. And,
you could have just said, I have a different game.
Yeah. But it's like those little things. I don't know why they just make me laugh, because they're just dumb. But it's like just throwing the board games just for effect. It's like, but then addressing it in the movie. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. Well, yeah, I did. So, so we're at Brooks's. It's not really a mansion, but it's a really nice home. That he's kind of renting it out as he's in town on business. And they are in, what town are they in?
I think California.
Yeah, I think they're in California, but I'm not. It's a big city, but I'm not sure what it was. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like last week where they were in Seattle and made sure we knew they were in Seattle.
Yeah.
By driving every street in Seattle to get that guy home.
It's Big Bend Parliament, kids.
There it is. Oh, look, Sky Needle. Good thing we mentioned it. Is that King Griffey Jr.?
Kurt Cobain.
Oh my gosh, it's Jay Buhner.
Jay Buhner. Dave Craig.
Oh my gosh. early career Randy Johnson.
I was just about to go early career Kevin Durant. And then...
Fair enough.
Oh, it's so dumb.
This movie doesn't have the geographic center as last week's movie did.
Ken Griffey Jr. Sorry, you got me going with that one.
So Brooks is hosting this game night, and he says, we're not playing board games. We're going to do a murder mystery." And and so it plays out that this hired crew, like these gamers they're gonna bust in, they're gonna kidnap somebody, and then there's a series of clues you have to investigate to go find whoever's been kidnapped. Well, lo and behold, Jeffrey Wright shows up as our FBI agent, which of course they all know they're in a game, and so when he comes in, they're taking him seriously as far as the game would go, but they already are like, "You're in on it." Excuse me. To which then a couple of guys come in to kidnap, as expected. The only difference is these guys are legit kidnappers that are coming to get Brooks. So they
knock out poor Jeffrey Wright as well.
Oh, like immediately, like just a haymaker.
Yeah,
it's like it was the old. There's gonna be 2 hits, me hitting you and you hitting the ground. Like they just floor him, and then there's this just like extreme little like fight choreography going on between Brooks and the kidnappers that everybody in the house is just like cheering on because they think this is all part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Brooks is like legit trying to defend his life because he knows that this isn't real. He recognizes these 2 kidnappers, and of course they just like, "Oh man, Brooks, you really, you're right. This is so great." So Brooks gets kidnapped. Out he goes. Then they go searching for the clues. They break up into their 3 pairs. You got Max and Annie. Then you've got I forget their characters' names. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, was it Ryan and Sarah?
Kevin and you got Ryan and Sarah, Kevin and Michelle.
Kevin and Michelle. Yep.
Yeah. As it came about, while they were waiting, they were playing this drinking game, like Never Have I Ever or whatever. To which one of the questions asked was, drink if you've ever like slept with or been with a celebrity or whatever. And nobody drinks except Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is the one thing that got a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Because it's like Kevin and Michelle didn't have a lot to do in the movie anyway, so this was their reason for being there.
It was a very forced B plot.
Very much so. But Michelle was like, "Oh, it was an accident." Basically, she spends the whole movie hiding it, and eventually, just to get their B plot out of the way, eventually opens up that, I slept with Denzel Washington. And of course Kevin doesn't believe her, so she goes back and finds a picture. This is when they were broken up, and shows
because they were like high school sweethearts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were each other's
except for like the 6 weeks they were on a break or something.
Right. And so she slept with Denzel Washington. She has a picture to prove that it was Denzel. And of course, she's telling the story of like, "Oh, he let me pay for everything. He was such a gentleman," or whatever, and shows the picture, and it clearly is not Denzel Washington.
Yeah,
Kevin kind of calls her, but it was kind of odd because it's like Kevin was so bent out of shape the entire movie about her being with somebody. He's spending the whole movie trying to guess who it is, Billy Bob Thornton, and all these different actors. That once he realizes that it was a fake Denzel, he then backs off, and he's now like, "Oh, it's okay, girl, no problem." And it's like
he didn't feel threatened anymore. Yeah,
no, not at all. So it was very forced, and the only reason for these 2. But whatever. And so everybody thinks it's part of the game, and so they split it up. They all have different ideas. Like Max, not Alex. Max and Annie. I combined Alex into Max and Annie.
He's there too.
Annex. Max and Allie, like they crack the first clue and out the door they go. Ryan and Sarah. Ryan's an idiot, by the way. Like,
oh yeah,
all
Yep.
muscle, no brains, handsome guy, but just dumb.
Yeah, just
Sarah is a
yeah, was it
coworker.
like
They're not
just
on a date.
dates Instagram models?
Yeah, yeah.
That
Like
that
brings
guy. Yeah.
essentially brings the same girl to every date or game night, but it's
Mhm.
never. It's just the same. It's not the same person. It's just the same type.
Yeah, the same descriptor.
He couldn't get one for this game night, so he brings Sarah, a coworker, who absolutely wants nothing to do with him romantically. Like, she's so put off by him, which is so odd for him, so he can't really wrap his brain around that. But she's the brains of this duo. So they have the idea of, like, let's just go to the game company and bribe them
Yeah.
to get the final clue and just go get him. Because the winner gets the Corvette Stingray. And Kevin and Michelle are actually trying to play it legitimately. They get like trapped in a room and et cetera, et cetera. Well, they end up talking to Jeffrey Wright's FBI agent, and they're the first ones to realize that this abduction was not part of the game.
Yep. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wasn't in on that.
So you got Max and Annie who are the gamers of the group. So they're believing that it's all a game. So they chase down and they find the van that he was abducted and taken away in. But they think it's all still a game. And so really the movie spends a lot of time following these two around.
Mhm.
They go to this bar, and it's just scene to scene, just different hijinks. They track his phone. They find it in a dumpster, but they see one of the kidnappers and the van across the street at a bar. So they go in there. They think the bartender's in on it. So they order a drink that they didn't think he'd be able to make. And of course he makes it just fine. And so they end up holding everybody up at gunpoint.
Yeah,
again, thinking they're playing a game.
Because Annie picked up Brooks's gun that he had dropped
Yeah.
during the fight.
Yeah, she's got his gun, and so she's singing like "Semi-Charmed Life," and she's like posing with the gun, like she thinks it's a fake gun. So
yeah, like singing into it like a microphone.
Yeah, all right. And I'll give Rachel McAdams a lot of props here. Like she was all in on this role. So,
yeah, she was. I agree with that completely.
She was the real highlight of this because Jason Bateman was just being Jason Bateman. But I felt Rachel McAdams was really ramping up her role here. And so they get Brooks. Brooks lets him know. Of course, they don't really believe him. But long story short, Brooks has actually been abducted because he's not a successful businessman like he says he is. He works on the black market. And he lets Max and Annie know this.
Well, he says that, I don't work on Wall Street unless you count the times I'm on Wall Street to sell them cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what they're after is he's got his hands on a Fabergé egg. It's just so dumb. For the Bulgarian, but he sold it to somebody else for more money. And that these kidnappers are in pursuit because they're supposedly hired by the Bulgarian. Fun little scene. This is where the operation comes in. When Annie still thinks the gun is fake, it fires and she shoots Max in the arm. And so there's a little scene where they're like outside of a 7-Eleven type, convenience store. And she's gonna dig it out. She's gonna dig the bullet out and sew it up. And so it's kind of comical. She's in there. She thinks it's the bullet. She's hitting the bone.
Yeah, just clanking around in there.
Oh, you got shot twice? And oh no, that's the exit wound.
Yeah, it's the exit wound. It came out.
But it's like, we got like a safety knife. We're gonna, she's like reading on Wikipedia or whatever, like how to get a bullet out. You know, just make the wound bigger. And so she's like digging around, and it's just. Then they see all the blood, and he's gonna vomit, and she's gonna vomit. They go back and forth.
And they're both like dry heaving, like
yeah. And I don't know why scenes like that in movies make me laugh, but they do. And so they've got Brooks. He's let go of all the truth here. Hey, I'm not a good person. They're after me. You gotta let me go. So he like jumps out of the car so that Max and Andy can escape because this van is still hot on their trail.
Yeah.
And so the three groups all meet back up. Now the story is out. Like, of course, forgot their name. Kevin and Michelle know the truth. Max and Annie now know the truth. So Ryan and Sarah are in on it too. So their plan is, well, if we're going to save Brooks, we have to go to Marlon Freeman's house and recapture the Fabergé egg.
Get the egg.
And go give it to the Bulgarian so that Max is free and clear. So, but they know they can't go to the police because obviously, Max has been shot, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, they're in on it. The cops are in on it.
Right. And so they don't know the alias of these people, though, Marlon Freeman and the Bulgarian. So they have a plan. We're going to go to Gary's. Let's have a game night at Gary's house because clearly Gary has a laptop at his home where he can access all the, the top secret police files.
The police database, because he's a cop, but he just leaves that database open on his computer.
Yep. If I were a cop, I'd do the same. It's just quick access. And so, so they go to Gary's. They're going to play Jenga. Max excuses himself to go to the bathroom. He goes into Gary's bedroom where he finds this shrine of Debbie. Like, Gary is clearly not over his ex-wife.
Yes. Very large shrine. Lots of candles, pictures.
Right. So he's obviously weirded out by this. And keep in mind, he's not medically sutured here. He's just been like duct taped up by his wife. Yeah. So he gets into the computer, quickly guesses the password is Debbie, and he's accessing because Max, who's never been in a police search database, knows his way around. So he finds the names he wants, but meanwhile, Gary's dog comes in and, seeing that Max is dripping blood, starts licking up the blood. Well, then the blood starts dripping onto the dog. And on a
very white small dog.
Very white dog. So now he has to try and clean up the dog, which obviously makes it worse because he gets the dog wet. And then the dog does its little shaky stuff and splatters blood all over.
Including the shrine.
Yes, exactly. So it's just another one of those one-off, like, okay, just hijinks ensue. But Max does get what he was looking for. He finds Marlon Freeman's real name and his address. So Max comes right back out, tips over the Jenga on purpose. They all lose, so they all leave.
After one game.
Right. One very quick game of Jenga. And then get a phone call to meet the kidnappers in an hour. So in that hour, they sneak into Marlon Freeman, Anderton's, Danny Houston's mansion, where early on it was established Ryan thought that rich people probably have fight clubs with poor people.
Yeah.
And everyone was laughing him off. Like, no way. Well, of course, they show up at Danny Houston's house where he's hosting an underground fight club.
Fight club in the basement.
With poor people. They find the egg. It's in a safe. This is
wide open safe.
A wide open safe. As Ryan thinks he's just going to go sneak over there and grab it, which he does. And we get actually a pretty cool shot. It's almost like a one take following through this mansion, because this is a legit mansion now.
Yeah.
Where they get this Fabergé egg and they're trying to escape all of the quote unquote henchmen at Danny Houston's house. But it is fun. They're upstairs, downstairs, through different rooms, and just tossing this egg around. But it's almost like the camera is following the egg everywhere, and it was pretty inventive.
Yeah, they're quite literally playing hot potato.
yeah. They're just tossing this egg all over the place. They do get the egg out. They escape with the egg, but of course it gets broken. Yeah. And to find out inside of this egg is like a witness protection list.
Yep. Because I'm sure that's something that the feds keep are printouts of lots of people in witness protection and where their exact locations are.
Yeah, they just put them in like a fortune cookie-esque list. So, and so they got that within the hour. The group meets up with Brooks and his captors. They get captured themselves. Brooks, this is your atonement part of the movie where Brooks reveals that he's always been jealous of Max.
Mm-hmm.
And his intention was for Max to win the Corvette all along. He actually had the keys in his pocket already. And so, Brooks has been living in Max's shadow while Max thought he's been living in Brooks's shadow, et cetera, et cetera. So Gary shows up to save the day because he's a cop and he's actually doing his cop.
He's tracked him down.
Right. And then he gets shot. He gets shot in the chest. Like, he's down. He's laying against his car tire. He's getting cold, and
he's done
all the near death.
Yeah, just blood oozing out of his mouth.
Max and Andy are there to, you're our favorite friend. You're our best friend. If you pull through, we'll have you every game night. Only for Gary to reveal that he is the one orchestrating all of this after all.
And that is how you do a game night.
Right. So Gary hired the original kidnappers. Once he caught wind that they were doing this murder mystery at Brooks's, he intervened and did one of his own. Of course, he also doesn't really know the real life Bulgarian Marlon Freeman thing going on. So It's like Inception of game nights here. So Gary's been in on all of this. The original kidnappers that Brooks was fighting with were hired by Gary. And so he's basically just tricking him into letting him rejoin the game night. But again, he's unaware of that witness protection list as the Bulgarian shows up, like some Michael C. Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Max offers, I'll give you the list, but you got to let us, we all get to live. To which Brooks takes the list and just swallows it.
Eats it. Yeah.
Like instantly. And so they then take Brooks because they're like, we're just going to cut it out of you. So they go to the airport, they get on a plane, they're going to fly away. Of course, Max and Annie, whatever big city they're in, apparently all this is going down like a block and a half from Brooks' place.
Yeah, because they're able to run back to get to Brooks's place, get the Corvette, and then show up at the airport.
Exactly. And so they undercut the Corvette. The Corvette undercuts to take out the front wheels of the plane, so it comes screeching to a stop. They subdue the Bulgarian and his henchmen. Like, there's this little gag where, Annie, they're playing charades so that Annie, because there's a henchman after her. So Max is playing charades. Annie hits the button, and they're supposed, it's like luggage. It's like a luggage truck or whatever. Well,
yeah.
Supposed to drop this box on this guy. It takes forever. So, they win. Long story short, they win. They get on the plane. They beat down the Bulgarian. They get the henchman. They rescue Brooks. Max realizes, I want to be a father after all. There was one little moment where it's like they weren't really all on board with it, but now they are. So, fast forward 3 months. Brooks is still in town because he's under house arrest. But he sold that witness protection list on the black market for $3 million.
Yeah.
but first tipped off all the witnesses for $20,000 apiece. And so because he's homebound, he hosts all the game nights. Gary's invited to him now. Annie reveals through playing Pictionary that she's pregnant with a bun in the oven. And then we see some armed men arrive outside. Assuming, of course, Brooks is still up to his no good. So who knows what's going on now. And then we get this mid-credit sequence where, Gary, as the credits are revealed, they're showing Gary's very intricate plans on how he's going to stage all of this thing.
Complete with basement red yard connecting things to things. And
Exactly, yeah. And then we get a post-credit scene where Gary's ex-wife, Debbie, meets the Denzel Washington lookalike that what's her name? Was it Michelle? Yeah. That Michelle had slept with earlier. So
at the same gas station.
At the same gas station, yeah. So and that is 2018's game night.
That's game night, folks. At this point in the show, Oz and I each give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about. In this case, Game Night. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this 7 Monopoly tokens.
7 Monopoly tokens? Okay.
Yep. How about you?
I'm going to go with 57 toppled Jenga bricks.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Next up, folks, we got Outside Insight. Oz and I have scoured the interwebs looking for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we're going to bring you a couple of those right now. Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
All right. Again, another week of a lot of bleeps, so bear with me. This is a half-star review by XXX Mad Lad 69 XXX.
That was my email address when I was 14.
Yeah. Left on Letterboxd November 22nd of 2021. Quote, and this is capital, lowercase, capital, lowercase, capital. You know, you touch that block, so you have to pull that one out. Go F yourself. That's not how the effing game is played, you dumb the F a-hole. Quoted from the official Jenga rules. Players may tap a block to find a loose one. Any blocks moved but not played should be replaced unless doing so would make the tower fall. You've never even blank and read the rules, have you? You S-head idiot. What, is the game over in 3 seconds if you just so happen to touch a load-bearing block first? Blank and no, dumb A. Learn to read, you illiterate blank. Blank this blanking blank movie and its blank plot.
Wow, all because they didn't find the Jenga scene plausible.
They didn't know. That is not how Jenga is played. This movie has no merit. Falls apart. Yeah,
that'd be like with last week's Say Anything. That is not how you drive a stick shift. I hate Say Anything.
Right. So I get the feeling it's like Gary wrote this Letterboxd review.
It was probably
That's
Gary.
Not how you play Jenga. So
not at all.
That's my outside insight. I'm like, this person got really wound up over the Jenga rules.
There's got to be some hot button there that's like this person got broken up with while they were playing Jenga or something like that.
Well, and I'm sure he's a very chivalrous man known as XXX Mad Lad 69 XXX. So.
I've written many, I've read many professional journals written by that guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a literary genius. This one, so
scholarly literature.
His use of alternating capital and lowercase letters is quite well. Although there are several indications in the one sentence where he doesn't stay consistent. So
I will say that's how Shakespeare wrote Othello. Was in uppercase, lowercase, uppercase, lowercase.
Yeah, it was the only one that wasn't iambic pentameter. He went with alternating levels of case.
Yep, look it up. It's real, folks.
Yeah, it is. So, what's your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from the Internet Movie Database. This is a 1 out of 10 review left by Masu T from March 2018. So not long after the film came out.
Unbelievable. Probably are you sure it wasn't Hideki Matsui?
It was, yes, it was former Yankees designated hitter Hideki Matsui. How many sports references can we fit in this week? Former Mets shortstop Howard Johnson writes. All right, so my outside insight: unbelievably stupid. A movie for low IQ people. A 7-year-old would write a more interesting scenario. No. Even a dog would write a more interesting scenario.
Now, if you have a dog that can write, that's impressive.
I love how the person actually typed in, a 7-year-old would write this. No, even a dog. It's like that. Like he got so caught up. I'm assuming this is a male, by the way, that wrote this. Like he got so caught up in writing this that he had to stop and type out, no, even a dog.
Well, his backspace button doesn't work.
Yeah, that's you only got to move forward.
Yeah,
that's like a Ricky Bobby approach to life.
No,
backspace.
Right.
Even a dog would write a more interesting scenario.
Oh, man.
Oh, all right. Well, folks, that brings us to our signature segment, the 3, 2, 1s, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the movie in discussion, in this case, 2018's Game Night. Oz, what are your three goods?
1918's Game Night.
1918's Game Night.
It's a Thomas Edison directed movie.
Charlie Chaplin's Game Night. F.W. Murnau's Game Night.
It's a silent film. This is full of pratfalls. All right, my three goods are... I've got a soft spot for comedies that just have a dumb friend. And so my first good is Ryan the dumb friend.
Dumb friend, yes.
Just a dumb friend that says dumb stuff and does dumb things, but is just so endearing as a character. Like, you just accept him for his dumbness and move on. So that's my first good, is the dumb friend.
And as revealed in the first post-credit sequence, he's a Harvard graduate.
He is a Harvard graduate, yeah.
He's a Harvard graduate. Harvard University.
Right. So he was just a dumb friend. So I like that dumb friend, Ryan. My second good, I changed it. Originally I had Rachel McAdams, but I changed it to the tilt shift videography that they used, which Rachel McAdams deserves it. But I really enjoyed the tilt shift scene change videography. Where you use a certain style of lens that makes your foreground and your background blurred, which then forces everything in the scene to look miniature. Which, of course, when you got a movie about games, it looks like they're little tokens on a game board or little toys. And so I thought that was a really nice, subtle touch to where it looked cool. But as a photographer for as long as I was, I've always appreciated that type of taking something of scope and making it feel smaller with just a tilt shift. And so I thought that was kind of cool, because it looks like it may have been CGI, but I can almost promise you none of it was CGI. It was all done with just a special lens, which is really cool. And my third is, same thing, when movies, particularly comedies, when they go that extra mile to specifically name products in the movie, I don't know why, it just makes it funny to me. There's that early scene where they were getting ready for game night, but they were, before anybody showed up, and Gary caught him outside, and they were talking about, just the 3 bags of Tostitos, of or family-sized Tostitos scoops. And he's like, well, they were 3 for 1. And, well, how in any way could that be possible for the Tostitos? And it's just that, it's something like you and I would do. We would take one little punchline and then just dive beyond we would go beyond unfunny right back into funny. Exactly. And that's where it was. So just that just discussion of specifically named products like the Tostitos scoops. And it just was...
it wasn't just regular Tostitos. It had to be Tostitos scoops.
Right. Well, and it's if you're going to have the product placement, you might as well have fun with it. So, kudos to them. So those are my 3 goods. How about you?
My 3 goods, you kind of left me one dangling there. So I'm going to start with Rachel McAdams. I thought she by far had the best performance in the movie. Yeah. I thought that she let her guard down in a fun way. And I really thought that I wasn't expecting that from her, and I was delightfully surprised that she really pulled off this kind of goofy character who both does and doesn't take herself seriously. Right. But is always in Max's corner, for better and for worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She's a good wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very supportive, but also, not to the point that she's going to get walked on. She calls him out at several occasions as well, but does so lovingly. So one for Rachel McAdams. Let's see. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the bullet retrieval scene. Where they just came out of the 7-Eleven, and again, Rachel McAdams' character is very organized. She got everything they need, included a squeaky toy for Max to put in his mouth. So as she's digging around in his arm in this bullet wound, you just hear this dog squeaky toy just going off because that's what he's biting down on.
Because it hurts.
Yeah. And my third good, kind of following in that same vein, right during the last climactic scene where they're fighting the Bulgarian on the plane, um, the Bulgarian is being held up by Max. He has a gun pointed at him, but the Bulgarian has a throwing like has a small knife in his hand, and he
Uh-huh.
throws it, and it hits it hits Max right in the arm, and he goes right in
Right.
my bullet hole. And then a moment later, after Annie shows up, she goes, "Is that a knife in your bullet hole?" I don't know what it was about like about those lines, but they just that
Well,
was
and it's
probably the hardest I laughed of the whole movie.
well, and that knife stayed in there for like the next scene as well. Like they
Yeah,
just left it protruding out of his arm as
yeah,
they wrapped up the deal and were hugging, and
yeah.
it was funny.
So those are my three goods. Oz, what are your two bads?
My first one is the scene where they're looking for the Fabergé egg at Danny Houston's mansion, and they're like clearly on a time frame. You know, they're on a time limit, and they're looking for something and all important. And then Annie decides she wants to talk about having babies again.
Yeah,
And it just that talk is fine, but in that moment it was off. And so that's my first bad is the conversation about being parents when they're looking for this egg to save the brother's life, et cetera, et cetera.
yes. When they themselves are in a life and death situation, let alone
it's
trying
like
to save Brooks's life.
right. Yeah, let's talk about this right now. So that's my first bad, and my second one is, while the whole like that the final scene with the airplane rescue, while all of that scene it was fun, all of it seemed very out of character for Max.
Yeah.
To push through. And so it just, after watching him act a certain way for 90 minutes, to see this new version of Max, this whole, I want to have kids, so let me put my life in danger.
Yeah.
It just seemed really out of character for him. So that's my second bad. How about you?
My first bad, you kind of alluded to this earlier, but the B plot between Michelle and
Oh, yeah.
Michelle and Kevin is boring. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. My eyes were rolling into the back of my head every time the plot shifted to this B
Oh, yeah.
plot. It went nowhere. It had most of the jokes didn't land. It did nothing, I thought, to do anything for their characters, their relationship. It was something else for the movie to do, other than drive the main plot forward, and
Right.
it just didn't work. Oh, it was boring.
And I felt bad because it's like the only reason those actors were there.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't fair to them because they were any actors capable of more than that. And that's, you bring in the only minority actors in the whole movie and then give them this forced B plot that isn't even funny. And it's like, oh man.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And then my other bad is that I thought Kyle Chandler was really miscast as the Brooks character.
Oh yeah.
I didn't, for me, he wasn't believable as like this pompous, proud miscreant.
Right.
It's maybe, you see him as like coach type characters and like dad type characters so often. But for me, he just was not believable in this.
Right. Who would you have cast? Like what vein of actor do you see there? Like a Ron Livingston?
Sean Kemp.
Detlef Shrimp.
Detlef Shrimp. Nate McMillan.
Right.
I don't know. Bradley Cooper. I could see somebody like him in that role. Or or if you want to be too on the nose, Will Arnett. Like
oh yeah. Or Matthew McConaughey or
but like, somebody who almost like you need someone who you already know has done that kind of character to be that character. Because there's like a meta aspect to that as well.
Oh yeah, they just bring that.
Yeah, and so I didn't like Kyle Chandler in this role.
If George Clooney wasn't so much older, I think George Clooney could have done a really good job.
Sure.
He's just so much older than Jason Bateman that it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, I get what you mean. Somebody with just that, they already have that air of arrogance around them, even if they're not arrogant, that they just have this larger than average feel
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah, and again, I think you lean into that when you cast
Oh,
this
yeah.
role. Like, it should be someone who's done that before.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
just to
for
drive
sure.
just to drive that home, because Jason Bateman's basically playing Jason Bateman, as you already
Oh,
mentioned.
yeah.
So why don't you get like Matthew McConaughey to play Matthew McConaughey? Just lean into it.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Kyle Chandler was, I mean, he did fine for what he was given, but yeah,
Yeah.
I never got the feel that he was like dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the coach from, was it Friday Night Lights or whatever he's done.
Yeah. Should have cast
All
Danny
right.
Houston in that role. Let Danny Houston play 2 parts in this movie.
just and you don't make him look any different. He's just playing 2 characters without any kind of reference point at all.
No,
Is that?
just let him do both.
No, just let him do it. He's here already. All right, well, Oz, my friend, what is your one for game night?
How did Gary know Brooks was planning a murder mystery? Like, that bothered me. Once they had the big reveal at the end where Gary's like, oh, what's I heard? I'm like, but how did you find out? It's one thing if they were doing this all at Brooks's house or at Max's and Annie's,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, they did this over at Brooks's, so you orchestrated all of this by not. I don't know. It's just real far fetched. Like, it's like they're, it's like this whole third act reveal, but it was one of these, like, it reminds me in Role Models with Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd, when they're out camping with the Sturdy Wings folks, and what's the actor's name? He's a comedian. He was in he did some stuff for Conan. He was also in Wet Hot American Summer. He's one of the kitchen helpers.
Christopher Maloney? No.
The other
80 Miles.
Yes, 80 Miles. 80 Miles character is telling a scary, like, campfire story, and then when he gets to the twist, and it's like, it was Peter, the pizza delivery man, from all the way back at the beginning. Like, it just seemed like the unveil was somebody who you would have never thought possible, because it just didn't fit. And so that was my It's like, how did Gary sniff this out and get it all orchestrated? Like he would have had to have all the details.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I hear you loud and clear on that one.
So that's my What's your
plausibility in this movie don't go hand in hand.
I love 80 Miles.
Yeah.
I love 80 Miles.
My is, as Max was in the cop's house, was in Gary's house, how did he not notice that his arm was bleeding profusely everywhere?
Right, yeah.
Like, it was everywhere. Like, he didn't feel the blood trickling out. He didn't feel the weight of his shirt. He didn't notice the dog right next to him. Like, how do you not know that your arm is just, like, it's just gushing blood out of it?
Yeah, it's just sopping. Like,
it was like someone was wringing out a washcloth. It was
really
running out of his arm
focused.
so much. Yeah,
really focused.
So yeah, that's my Haas. How do you not notice that you are bleeding profusely?
Oh, you know what my dream movie would be? I would watch. It would, if done correctly, to watch a movie starring 80 Miles as any 80 Miles character, but he's partnered up with Mark Proch, the guy that plays Colin Robinson.
Okay, yeah.
Put those two in a movie, just being themselves. Oh my gosh, I would love that movie. Like, anything that I think it's pronounced Proch. I'm looking him up right now. Prokschch. But like, when he plays Nate on The Office, like, those are some of my favorite scenes in The Office, is when he's on The Office playing Nate.
That's right. I forgot he was on there.
Oh, he's so hilarious. Like, and then the same with What We Do in the Shadows. I love the Colin Robinson scenes. And then 80 Miles, Wet Hot, he's hilarious. And
what was that other? Was it Man Bites Dog?
I was saying Man Bites Dog. It was him and Zach Galifianakis.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea Savage. Is that right?
Yeah, Andrea Savage and
Yeah.
God, what's his name from Upright
From
Citizen?
Upright
Is it
Citizen.
Matt Walsh?
Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh. Yeah,
Yeah,
that show was so ahead of it. That was ahead of its time. That one. Love that show.
And the one thing we can't quote here, but
yeah. got my stick.
All right, well, folks. Huh?
No, I'm gonna have to find that show.
Yeah. All right, well that's 2018's game night, folks. We got one more movie this month.
Yeah, we do have one more. What is your last, or shall I say, your spouse's last contribution to this month?
Yes, who Melissa, Patreon subscriber Melissa L. may or may not have contributed this last movie, 2001's comedy classic Saving Silverman.
Classic. I do enjoy this movie.
Yeah, it's so dumb, but it's one of those you can't help but laugh. And there's parts of the movie that haven't aged well. I watched it yesterday. No. But the parts that work really well.
Yeah. This is one of those movies that I feel like the side characters carry the whole thing. Like Jack Black and Steve Zahn's characters make this movie. Jason Biggs is just like he's just that piece of like he's that disposed of plastic bottle that rides the waves in the ocean.
You paint a great picture there.
He's been chucked away, and it's like he's still moving. You see him going along for the ride, but he's all for nothing.
Yeah.
Now he's not terrible in the movie, but
no,
but not
his.
Not
but
next
yeah,
to...
his character. You just want to punch in the face every time you see him.
Oh yeah. And Amanda Pete's good in this, and you know, Arlie Ermey, and
it's got some fun performances and some fun gags.
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. Oh yeah. So we will bring you more of Saving Silverman next week as we close out Wives' Choice Part 2.
The squeakquel.
Wives' Choice, Back to the Miners.
That's right. Wives' Choice, Die Harder. Judgment Day.
The Two Towers.
So. All right. Wives' Choice, First Blood Part 2. All right. So, yeah, like you said, that does wrap us up. Social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find a link to Patreon as well if you want to dip into your coffers. Because unlike those really sad New Year commercials, we're not one of those. You can make a monthly contribution, and you're not going to be saving any animals. You're not going to be putting food on anybody's plate. You'll just get to hear your name read. So it's as superficial as it sounds. So don't
and just know that you'll be inflating our egos as well.
Right. And what we'll do is we are not even going to compromise your donation by sending you a T-shirt. I've always had a problem with that. When those like Save the Animals, like for your $18 a month, and we'll send you this T-shirt and this. And I'm like, no, take the money that you're spending on those shirts and go save those animals.
I kind of want to do tote bags now because I remember like with PBS, for a $75 donation to PBS, you get this tote bag. I think we need a Let's Talk About Flicks tote bag.
We should. Let's talk about Flicks tote. Let's tote about flicks.
There you go. It writes itself. That's going to be our first. That's going to be our first swag. Is going to be tote bags.
That's right. We're just here. We're just along for the ride. We're like a disposed bottle in the ocean.
I kind of wish that came up earlier because everyone just kept.
All right. Well, like you said, we will definitely be back next week to wrap up Wives' Choice Month before we head into March already. I believe there's only There's only 3 months of school left.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day.
I know. My wife and I were just talking about it yesterday. They're like, we're out of school in like 3 months. We haven't. I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had a single snow day. We haven't even had like obscenely cold temperatures yet. But I'm like, it's supposed to be like mid-50s all week here. We'll take it. I'll take it for sure. So, global warming's all right in the winter.
You heard it here first, folks.
That's
Global warming is all right in our books.
Yeah, it's only a seasonal disadvantage. Right now, it's great.
Yeah, ask me again in July.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you next week with Saving Silverman.